All right, this is the last set of parts on the midterm. The first thing is that this part is in millimeters, so we'll go down here and set the part dimensions to be millimeter grams second. And the first thing we're going to do, again, we've been given a multi-view drawing, front, top, and in this case, the left-hand view, and this is the isometric view up top. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create the front view. So let me come in here and make that view a little bit larger. And we'll work off this particular view. All right, so we're given a lot of information here, and we're specifically called out that this curve is tangent to this line. So let's go ahead and make this part. Again, many different ways to create it. I'm going to create a sketch on the front plane, and I'm going to make a series of rectangles. So I'm going to make a corner rectangle, and going to make a large one. Then I'm going to look at this cutout here and look at the cutout in this location. So first thing I'm going to do is I'll put in a smart dimension that goes from here to here and make that 95. I'll make the total height a distance of 45, and the distance from here to here, another distance of 45. From here to here, we'll make a distance of 30. And from here to here, we'll make that a distance of 18. And the distance here, which is going to be this line, is going to be also coincident with the line of this cutout, and we'll make that 20. So from here to here is a distance of 20. And then we have one last rectangle here that we can put in. I'll just drop it here. We'll select this line and this line, and we'll make those collinear. And we'll go ahead with our dimension tool, making this distance 12 and this distance here is going to be a distance of 10. Let me just put that there. And just to clean up the sketch, we can move some of these dimensions around. And we double check we have everything fully defined. And then the last thing we want to do is we want to put in this curve that is where we can use a 3-point curve, selecting here, dropping the other point here, which would be my distance of 40, and then putting in the tangency. So we'll utilize a 3-point arc. First point is here, second point is somewhere on this curve, and the third point can be dropped anywhere. Zoom in here a little bit. We'll go the smart dimension. So from this line to that point will be a distance of 40. And then we will select the line, the curved line of the arc, the horizontal line, and make those dimension and make that a tangency. All right, so that pretty much gives me the shape that I want. And if we come over to the top view, we'll see that the extrude distance is going to be 51. And then we're going to need to come back in here and put in the 5 radius 3 fillets to finish up this view. So let's go ahead and we also note that we're going to have this cutout here. So we'll make the extrusion from the midplane. It'll make it easier to put in this cutout. So we'll do features, extruded boss. We'll set the distance to 51. We'll set the extrusion to be from the midplane, and we'll come in here and we'll select this plus the filleted portion. And that'll give us our basic shape. Now we'll go to the fillet tool, and we can set the radius of the fillets to be 3 millimeters. And we can select this edge, and I can When I'm using the fillet tool, it will seek the edges anyway, so I don't necessarily have to rotate the part around. And this one, and this is my last. So let's just double check. We have 5 of them, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, corresponding to the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 on the drawing. So we'll say OK. Come in here and select Control 1, and we can just double check that the shape that we see here in the diagram mimics what we have created of our part. All right, so the next thing we want to do is to create this rectangular cutout. So I can go ahead and create a sketch. And what I'll do is I'll create a sketch on this face, which is on the left-hand side of the part. And what I'll do is create a rectangle, make sure that I am coincident to the top edge. So we'll go ahead and put our dimensions in. This distance is 4. That's 25. And the distance from the edge of the cutout to the edge of the part is 21. We can then do a features, and we go to extruded cut, and we can go through all. So you can see that the sketch, when viewed in this fashion, is actually floating out in space, but it is associated with this plane. And then the last thing we need to do to complete this part is to make this cutout. And the way we'll do this, you have to be careful here, because the tendency or the temptation is to sketch onto this plane, but because you're cutting over this edge, if you do it here, you have to remember to cut out in both directions. So instead of doing that, I'll just create my sketch onto this face. Here's my center point. So I can easily utilize that to create a center line that I can then utilize my center rectangle. So I'll just select somewhere on the line, come over and make sure I grab the edge over here so I have a coincident to this edge. And I just put 2 dimensions in this case. Because it is symmetric, I just need to put in one of the 14 dimensions and set this distance of the depth of the cut to be 45. And then I can do a features, extruded cut, and we'll go through all, and we'll say OK. Now the problem asked for the mass of the part once the material was set to being nickel. So I'm going to right-click over here on my materials, select from the favorites. One of them is usually nickel. If it wasn't, you would have had to right-click, go to Edit Material, and gone through and found nickel under the other metals. But it's usually, in the standard install, it's usually one of the favorites. So in this case, we'll go to Evaluate under Mass Properties, and we would have found out that the mass of the part is 1,265.57 grams. You can also double check your volume. In this case, it's 148,890.7 cubic millimeters, and the surface area is 24,300.93 square millimeters. So now we'll go to the last problem of the midterm. So let's just open up that final image. So what it just required us to do was put essentially 2 wings onto this part. So relatively straightforward. We'll just go here, create a sketch on this plane. I'll just utilize the line tool, sketch in the shape, put on my dimensions. So this distance is 10. This distance is 3. We get those 2 dimensions from this back view, and then from the view of, well, actually, this is the right-hand view, this is the front view, this is the right hand, and we get our other 2 dimensions. So from the bottom, of the wing to the bottom of the part is a distance of 8, and then from the bottom of the wing feature up to its top is a distance of 14. Now I'm not going to bother drawing the sketch on the other side because this is something that we can easily mirror. So we will do features, extruded boss. We'll flip the direction and our distance will be 75, and we'll say OK. So that has created the wing on the left hand side of the part. So all we need to do is we'll go to mirror. The mirror face plane will be the front plane, and the feature we want to mirror, just select any face of this part and select OK. And if I go to the Evaluate tab under Mass Properties, we now get that the mass is 1,373.95 grams, and you can double check your volume, which is now 161,640.7 cubic millimeters, and the surface area being 26,720.84 square millimeters. All right, so this completes the midterm with the solutions to problems 7 and 8.